everyone, Alexa Donne here, and today I am so excited to share with you that I finally have an audiobook out. It's been in the works for a while and it finally dropped last week, and I will tell you a bit more about the process and how, you know, magically your audiobook can drop and you go, oh, I have an audiobook now. It's definitely been a really interesting process, and I know you're here for all of the cool and weird information about publishing. But first, before we get to that, I'm gonna tell you more about the audiobook and where you can get it. A lot of you have been asking about audio because you are primarily audiobook listeners. And I know I've been telling you for months, it's coming, I'm not sure when. Well, now you can get it on audible.com. I'm gonna have a link down below so you can just click on it. It's gonna take you to Audible. If you have an account, you can get it. And in honor of this very exciting development, I am doing a giveaway for a free audiobook download for Audible so you can get Brightly Burning for free. All you have to do to enter is comment down below and I will pick one comment at random. Next week, I will contact you and send you the code and instructions for how to redeem it. So don't forget to comment down below for a chance to win the Brightly Burning audiobook from audible.com. So now just some details about the audiobook. So my publisher for the audiobook is audible.com. Audible, which is owned by Amazon, which is a dominant audiobook carrier. When I found out I was going to be published by Audible, I was so excited because I was like, that's like so official. Like, I honestly didn't really know how audiobooks worked, which getting ahead of myself, but the audiobook is about 10 hours, and the audiobook narrator is Therese Plummer. I can't tell you how jazzed I was when I heard Therese's audio sample and that she was going to be narrating my audiobook, because I had some ideas in my head of what I wanted, but I don't actually listen to audiobooks. I am primarily a hardcover or Kindle reader, but in my mind I was like, Stella should her voice shouldn't be too high or too low, and she's kind of British, but I wouldn't make an audiobook narrator who is probably going to be American speak in a British accent. But I was like, tone was the most important thing for me. And Audible, like completely unintentionally, or maybe we were just like thinking the same thing at the same time, totally picked an audiobook narrator who is exactly what I had in mind. I think you're going to love the way she reads Stella. I certainly do. Though I didn't actually get to hear her reading my book until it dropped on Audible. Now, I only listened to the sample. I actually just downloaded the book myself on Friday, and I haven't actually had a chance to really listen to it. So I thought for just a bit of fun, for just like a few seconds, we would listen to a little bit of the audiobook. I know you're not really going to be able to hear it, but I'm going to film my initial reaction. All right, here we go. I've got it on my phone. Turn the volume up.
Brightly Burning. Written by Alexa Donne.
That's so cool.
By Therese Plummer.
Chapter 1.
So weird.
The gravity stabilizers were failing again. I glanced up from my sketch pad to see globules of liquid dancing up from my drinking glass. They shimmered red, like droplets of blood, though I knew it was just cherry-flavored Nutri-Drink. Damn it. That's my protein ration for the day wasted.
It's so dramatic. It's very, very strange hearing the words I wrote read out loud. Being perfectly honest with you, I don't know if I can listen to this whole thing because I actually haven't read my book since I did my past pages, which was a year ago, because it feels so strange. I'm like, I wrote a book? So wow, that is so strange, but I hope you liked what you heard. And that is actually the audiobook sample. They took just like the first page. So if you go to audible.com or you go on Amazon and you listen to the sample, you can get a feel for what it sounds like. Okay, so as promised, I'm going to tell you a bit about this whole wacky, weird process of how my book got turned into an audiobook. Now, I can only speak to my personal experience. From what I understand, it's different for every author and every book. Some books get their audiobook rights sold like right away after the book sells, and it's all handled by the publisher. In other cases, the agent retains the audio rights and they sell them separately. Lots of different things. And even now with audible.com, they're actually doing this really cool thing where they buy the rights to a book and they do audiobook first, and then it comes out as a print book later. That is actually how the new Veronica Roth book is going to be released. Her first adult novel coming out, I think, next year. So things are really evolving and changing with the audiobook industry, but how it worked for me. So my publisher retained the rights to my audiobook. My agent and I retain the rights to everything else, all of my other sub rights like film and foreign rights, but HMH retained the audio rights with a reversion clause, which meant if HMH couldn't sell my audio rights within 2 months of publication, I got them back. So it was HMH's job to basically sell my audio rights because HMH doesn't have an in-house audiobook like division. Some publishers do, so it really is different depending on who you're being published by. And if you are going traditional, talk to your agent about this because they know all about it. Or even if you're a self-published author and you have an agent for your sub rights, they're gonna know how this stuff works. So about a month or so before Brightly Burning was published in May, I found out that HMH had sold my audio rights to audible.com. I was so excited. I was like, yes, I really wanted an audiobook. Not because I listen to audiobooks, as I mentioned, I really don't, but because audiobooks are such a crucial thing in the lives of so many people that I know. I have friends who exclusively read on audiobook, and I know audiobooks are so important for accessibility of story. And there are certain people in my life who are like, yeah, I'm not gonna read your book unless it comes out on audiobook. So I was like, oh, pressure, right? So I found out it was going to be an audiobook, and I wasn't, given much information. I was just like, great. And then I heard nothing for months. But I think this is really normal with audiobooks, and really in my experience so far, most subrights. It was like this for my UK subrights as well. My book coming out with Titan in the UK, they just kind of bought the rights and they were delivered my book and they just did their job. And it was really easy in the sense that, I did all of kind of the front-loaded work with my US publisher, and then they just bumped along. So essentially, HMH took care of everything with Audible. They delivered the final book file to them, Audible found a narrator, and so then I heard from Audible, I think it was the very end of July, might have been the first week of August. I heard from them, hey, we've selected a narrator for your audiobook. We're putting you in touch in case she has questions or you have any specific instructions for reading your audiobook. And it felt like I was being introduced to a celebrity. I was like, my audiobook narrator, weird. And we did have a little back and forth because I have a lot of international and kind of multicultural things and names in my book. So I kind of gave her some tips on how to pronounce some of them. And by the way, I take full credit for anything that is not pronounced properly in my book. It's entirely possible because when you write the book, you have an idea in your mind how things are pronounced, and then you actually have to say them out loud. And I hope I did okay instructing her, but we try our best. So I let her know oh, so-and-so is named this because it comes from this language, and I did actually try to link her to YouTube videos. This should be how it's pronounced and so on. So we'll see how that went. And then that's it. She told me that they were going to be recording. She was going to the studio in mid-August. And then I just kind of sat tight. And again, I know this might send some of you into a panic spiral of, oh God, traditional publishing sounds awful, but I heard nothing. I had no information, no control. When is it coming out? I didn't get to listen to the recording at all. And again, I think in some cases authors do. They're more actively involved in the process, but I frankly don't mind. It was actually really nice not having to do anything. And this week, I was like, oh, my audiobook's out. And I really only knew that because someone on Twitter tagged me saying, oh great, I see your audiobook's coming out. I'm so excited. I was like, oh, it's coming out on Tuesday. And then I forgot on Tuesday that the audiobook was coming out. I'm on deadline for my revision of my second book, so I was just like really out of sorts. And then on Friday I was like, oh yeah, my audiobook came out. And now I'm making this video to tell you about it. So that was basically the process. My publisher and Audible handled everything, and they did a really good job, and I'm really, really pleased. Because honestly, I really do feel fortunate to have an audiobook at all. So as you heard, they didn't sell my audio rights until shortly before my book was coming out. There's also a lot of cases where you don't sell audio rights until after your book comes out, and many books don't sell audio rights at all. It's definitely a privilege to have your book come out in multiple formats, including and especially audiobooks. So I'm really grateful to have this. I hope people really enjoy it. I'm seriously so jazzed. It's like another little milestone in being an author, in being like a real author. You know, one big one was my book being on shelves at bookstores and my book being in libraries. I can't tell you how exciting it is to think of someone going into a library and getting my book, because libraries were so important to me when I was a kid. I mean, as were bookstores. I mean, any place, sacred place of books. And having an audiobook is another one of those where I'm like, wow, my book is available and accessible to people in this whole other way that I would never have been able to do myself. So I'm really excited and happy. If you're an audiobook listener, I hope you enjoy it. Honestly, let me know like how it is, since you are a more seasoned audiobook listener than I am. I'm very curious to hear what you think. I hope this was interesting and illuminating. I certainly had no idea how audiobooks worked before I did this, and I still don't know quite how they work, since it seems to be different for every author and every book at different publishers. So we all learned a little something today. Give this video a thumbs up if you like it, and if you're not already subscribed to the channel, go ahead and do that. I post new videos 2 to 3 times a week all about publishing and writing and craft and the industry. As always guys, thank you so much for watching, and happy reading.